people like me. You need people like me so you can point your f***ing fingers and say, that's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy. That's the bad guy.
Okay, we'll start with this. Some recent comments from the reigning undisputed 140-pound champion Chantel Cameron, who said, throwing it out there after seeing that announcement about Serrano versus Ramos fighting for 12 3-minute rounds, I say me versus Katie should follow that and fight 3-minute rounds for the rematch. Spice it up a little.
Last time we saw a suggestion like this made in association with the Katie Taylor fight was ahead of the Amanda Serrano fight. Amanda recommended that the fight be for 3-minute rounds.
The issue at that time was that the fight was already made. The camps had already started for the fight. To make that recommendation after it's already en route,
that was something that would have ideally been negotiated ahead of the fight, not once the fight's already made.
Amanda didn't have that much luck with that suggestion, but it appears that Chantel Cameron, she's having luck. She's having some success. Eddie Hearn responded to Chantel Cameron's suggestion. This one is for 3 10-minute rounds, as we want it to be for Undisputed. But I definitely think there will be a change longer term. Either 3 minutes or more rounds, or both.
To which Chantel Cameron responded, 10 3-minute rounds, applause.
They can't do it for 12 3-minute rounds and bill it as an undisputed title fight, because if they tried to, the WBC wouldn't sanction it. And if they don't sanction it, then it's not for undisputed, and the green belt wouldn't be on the line. That's the situation when it comes to Serrano versus Ramos. Not everyone is a proponent of 12 3-minute rounds in the sport of women's boxing.
Jessica McCaskill's longtime manager and trainer, Rick Ramos, he's not a proponent.
He says 12 3-minute rounds is 36 minutes. So people think going from 20 minutes to 36, almost double, is a good idea. This is bad.
It's a stout observation.
The WBC's rationale is that women are more prone to concussions than men are. That's what their medical studies show, research they conducted. And because they're more prone to concussions than men are, the less time they're in there, the better.
Some think that's chauvinistic.
While some others agree that going from 20 minutes to 36 minutes, that does increase the likelihood of a concussion, or it could, because it's almost double the 20 minutes that women have been fighting.
For some, it's a safety issue, a safety concern. For others, it's a quality care issue, quality control.
One of the longtime subscribers here on the channel, Emma Willis, stated, the women are absolutely exhausted by the end of 10 2-minute rounds. It will make the fights boring if they changed it. Keep it as it is.
A rare 12-round, 3 minutes per round fight won't hurt, though.
Perhaps if they made that exclusive to unification matches between champions, undisputed title fights.
Might be more feasible.
More time in a round and more rounds in a fight mean more quiet moments, more lulls in the action, more feel-out rounds. While some fighters say that they'd like a little bit more time because many times they were on the brink of knocking out their opponents, but the round ended.
It's what some of the fighters have told me.
Some of the fans say they actually like the 2-minute round because it makes for a faster fight, a faster pace, more action, and less feel-out rounds.
So the desire to see women's bouts extended to 12 3-minute rounds, it's not exactly unanimous.
One of the subscribers here on the channel that goes by the name Antonio Mosley stated, let's be honest, are women capable of 3-minute rounds? I mean, biology needs to be a factor since men and women are different. Women are way more fragile than men. Is it sexist? Yeah, but reality is sexist, to which Emma Willis responded, it's not about being fragile. The women just don't have the endurance for it.
That's how some people feel.
To which Antonio Mosley responded, don't have the endurance. Now that's a good point. Fragility does sound less reliable, a less reliable reason, because it is women versus women.
There are 2 takeaways from all of this. 2 takeaways primarily. The first being that the desire to see women's bouts extended from
10 2-minute rounds to 12 3-minute rounds, it's not unanimous. unanimous. It's not emphatic across the board. That's the first takeaway. And the second takeaway is that Taylor versus Cameron 2, while it won't be for 12 rounds, it will be for 3 minutes a round. That doesn't favor an aging Katie Taylor.
It's 30 minutes.
Early going to that fight, she looked in trouble opposite the ring, Chantel Cameron, who I've no doubts is going to come out hard and fast in the rematch, try to win even bigger than she won in their initial meeting. Does Katie Taylor, in her mid-30s, have the stamina, the endurance to fight for additional time?
I'm a big fan of Katie Taylor, but I'm also a realist. I don't think adding time to the round favors her at all.
It was already slim pickings for Katie. She lost the first fight. Chantel is the bigger, younger fighter with more power.
Fights at Chantel's weight.
It's not looking good for Katie. Men's heavyweight news. Tyson Fury slammed Alexander Usyk, saying, "I thought he lost to Dubois." Usyk quit from the body shot.
There goes Tyson Fury saying all the things you expect him to say.
Taking every opportunity to belittle and berate every other heavyweight at the weight, even the only other champion at the weight.
To distract people from the fact he's about to box a guy that never boxed before.
What do you make of Usyk's win over Dubois?
I thought he's a little bag. Cheated. Supposed to be this big God-fearing man, rolling up and down with a low blow and they hit him on the belt line. Come on, don't be a little house coward. Be a man.
You believe
Stand up to it. What do I know? I'm a world heavyweight champion, been in boxing for 15 years as a pro. I'm won up to 22 belts. What do I know? That wasn't a low blow, I know that. And one's a little house pussy, I know that too. He lost, man. You got beat by Dubois, man. You can't.
He called them both quitters, both Alexander Usyk and Daniel Dubois. He said he quit too, so that was two quitters fighting.
Two quitters fighting each other.
Claiming that Alexander Usyk cheated. I don't even understand that claim because it wasn't Alexander Usyk's call to make. It was Louis Pabon's call to make, and he ruled it a low blow in seconds.
It was his call, not Usyk's. If Louis would have started counting, Usyk wouldn't have had no say in the matter. He would have either had to stay down or get up.
But Louis didn't start counting. Louis ruled it a low blow, so how is Usyk the one that cheated?
He says he's been in the game 15 years, that he's a pro boxer, and that's what he knows about it, but so is Carl Froch. He said it was a low blow.
So did Tony Bellew and Paul Smith and Liam Smith.
They said it was a low blow.
Can't use the defense that you're a pro boxer and what you say is gospel when all those guys are pro boxers. All those guys.
What this man is allowed to get away with on the microphone, what this man is allowed to say while the cameras are rolling is criminal, because where he's accusing Alexander Usyk of cheating, only one of you
failed an anti-doping test. Only one of you had a farmer coming forward saying that he was paid off to lie.
Martin Carefoot, ring a bell?
Now, there are some people, Tyson Fury apologists, that think that because all of this took place years ago, it's not relevant here today. But when Tyson Fury musters up the gall to accuse someone else of cheating,
the nerve.
You got a gift in a John McDermott fight very early in your career. I didn't forget, and that's why you had to fight him 2 times. Your fans might want to pretend it didn't happen.
Maybe they think it's not important, but I do.
And I don't cater to the inbred camper community that supports Tyson Fury, what is tantamount to the European equivalent of a bunch of fucking hillbillies.
They're just better with their words.
Still a bunch of fucking hillbillies.
Trailer trash.
Like Tyson Fury, who thinks people forgot. He got a gift in the John McDermott fight. He robbed that guy.
You want to accuse Alexander Usyk of robbing Daniel Dubois, but the periodicals, the newspapers in your own country accused you of robbing John McDermott.
You want to accuse him of cheating, but you're the one that tested positive for a banned substance, nandrolone. And using nandrolone in the sport of boxing, that's cheating.
You're the cheater.
You're the piece of shit that used Martin Carefoot's statements as your explanation as to why they found nandrolone in your system, only so that years later that same Martin Carefoot could come forward and say, you guys paid him off. You paid him to say that.
Or you were supposed to. And when you didn't produce those payments, that's when he decided to come forward.
As long as Tyson Fury has the gall, the audacity to point the finger at others and accuse them of cheating his own history.
You're in no position to talk.
I remember when he made those inflammatory comments about members of certain groups right after his victory over Vladimir Klitschko. He decided decided to hide behind religion. He decided to hide behind the guise of being a God-fearing man.
He decided to hide behind the guise of being mentally ill, all the while he was being investigated by UCAT for the banned substance in his samples.
Hiding behind the guise of being mentally ill so he could get out of giving Vladimir Klitschko his rematch.
You want to run around calling people cowards?
There are very few redeemable qualities when it comes to Tyson Fury, and his career is not so stellar, so amazing, that he should be allowed.
He probably doesn't care what people think. He doesn't care what people say so long as he gets paid.
That's a two-way street, my friend. I don't care what he says.
Because what he says about other people applies more to him than them.
If you're accusing Usyk of cheating, well, you're a bigger cheater than he is. If you're accusing him of being a fraud, you're a bigger fraud than he is, than you claim he is.
Phony.
Okay, how many times he beat Deontay Wilder? That doesn't make him the man at heavyweight, because Deontay Wilder wasn't the man. So how could beating him make Tyson Fury the man? If he goes his entire boxing career and he don't fight Usyk,
You're saying that he's a quitter, then you go make him quit.
the Saudis are more than willing to pay for that boxing match, obscene amounts of money for that boxing match, and you'd rather box a guy that never boxed before. What does that make you?
A fraud.
Understand that most any professional boxer can make the same decision to fight in circus fights the same way that Tyson Fury is about to. The reason some don't is because they have their pride. They have their integrity.
You don't think if Anthony Joshua wanted to box a Francis Ngannou in a circus fight he couldn't have?
For the same, if not more money, than Fury is about to get. Because we all know Anthony Joshua commands a bigger audience and more money, more marquee value than Fury does. And if he wanted to, he could be doing the same thing that Fury's doing. A lot of guys could.
But that's not something you stop and do in the middle of your boxing career. That's something you do after your boxing career is over, like Floyd did.
Floyd didn't hold anything up with any of the exhibition matches that he had. He waited until his boxing career was over to start fighting in circus fights, whereas Fury is a sitting champion.
He's got a belt right now.
And look at what he's doing. Look at who he's fighting. You expect the boxing community at large to believe this entire calendar year you couldn't find someone to fight you in boxing. You couldn't find anyone.
Bullshit.
It's like the bit about him trying to get Alexander Usyk in the ring. You weren't trying to fight him. You weren't trying to make that fight. You were trying to sabotage it.
And it worked.
Be surprised if that fight ever takes place. I'd be surprised if that fight ever happens, because Tyson Fury's been pouring cold water on that thing.
For what reason should I pay a hefty pay-per-view price point to see Tyson Fury box a guy that I never boxed before?
What's the appeal? What's the selling point?
Well, they added Adelaide versus Wardley to the card.
Yeah, but I don't know that fight by itself is enough to make me purchase a pay-per-view.
Especially when I'm not interested in the main event.
Finally, in men's super lightweight news, Oscar De La Hoya has suggested that Ryan Garcia versus O'Hara Davies might be able to happen next for the vacant WBA super lightweight title, as he believes the WBA could now make Rolly Romero a champion in recess because he is injured. Over a week ago, there was a deadline for Rolly Romero to submit his paperwork to confirm that he is in fact injured and unable to compete. Most interpreted this as a stall tactic to hang on to the WBA title a while longer whilst not satisfying his mandatory in O'Hara Davies.
Rolly Romero needed a gift for Jackson Mariñez, a false stoppage against Ishmael Barroso. What are the odds he could actually beat O'Hara Davies? If they felt it was a fight that he could win, they wouldn't be putting on this production.
I don't think he's injured. I think it's all bullshit. I think they're doing what they can to give him more time with the belt.
But if he wants to keep it, he's got to fight O'Hara Davies, which is a little bit surprising by way of the WBA. The WBA has long been criticized for what seems to be an unethical relationship with the PBC and PBC fighters, like Rolly.
Perhaps they realize that there's no incentive, there's no upside to Rolly Romero hanging on to that title.
1 or 2 days ago, Lee Eaton, who handles the career of O'Hara Davies, O'Hara stated, "I just got a call from Lee Eaton, and we have a fight date."
To which Lee Eaton replied, "It's time. I've long felt the whole reason that Golden Boy signed O'Hara Davies.
He's got mandatory status.
He's the mandatory to Rolly Romero. Even if you can't turn O'Hara Davies into a big draw here in America, you can put him in the ring with Ryan Garcia, and if you play your cards right, It could be for a WBA title.
The WBA title.
There's no upside for the WBA in Rolly keeping that belt. He's not going to try to unify it with Subriel Matias or Regis Prograis.
Forget about making a fight between him and Teofimo. He's over there at the PBC and Teofimo's at Top Rank. I don't think you could negotiate a fight between them.
Teofimo's ego's too big. He's going to want an arm and a leg for a unification match, and Rolly fancies himself a superstar for getting knocked out by Javante.
Rolly's not going to do anything with that belt. He's not going to do anything with it.
Not that he should have it anyway, because he shouldn't. Tony Weeks waved off the Ishmael Barroso fight based on a sequence of punches that Rolly threw that didn't even land.
Told you they were going to get him that belt by hook or by crook. They were going to crown him WBA champion, whether he deserved it or not.
Now that he's got it, what is he going to do with it? And how does that benefit the WBA? Because it's just as much a business to them as it is to the fighters, their managers, and the promoters. There's no incentive in the WBA doing special favors to Rolly Romero. If he is in fact injured, if that's what the paperwork shows and he can't compete,
Label him a champion in recess. Elevate O'Hara Davies to that position.
Rolly Romero himself had aspirations of defending his title against Ryan Garcia. O'Hara Davies being named as mandatory challenger is what threw the monkey wrench in those plans. Now both O'Hara and Ryan are promoted by Golden Boy.
It's an easy in-house fight to make.
Ryan ain't got the best relationship with Golden Boy Promotions. We all know that, but perhaps it could help to smooth things over between them if they can put him in a title fight. If they can get him that WBA title via O'Hara Davies' mandatory status.
You think he beats O'Hara Davies?
I think he stands a better chance of beating O'Hara Davies than Rolly Romero does.
That's what I think.
This would be Ryan Garcia's first fight under the watchful eye of Derek James, who's set to have a very, very rough year. His longtime prize stallion, Errol Spence Jr., was beaten in one-sided fashion. I've no doubts that another one of his prize stallions, Frank Martin,
He's about to get spanked by Shakur Stevenson.
Jermel Charlo, widely favored to lose at super middleweight opposite the ring Canelo Alvarez later on this month.
Special attention is going to go into what version of Ryan Garcia we're going to get.
Because Derek is about to have a rough year. A very rough year, but he's still got Anthony Joshua and he's still got Ryan Garcia.
Ryan can beat O'Hara Davies. I think he can beat O'Hara Davies.
Was Ryan Garcia over a year ago, 2, maybe 3, that said belts don't matter, belts don't make the fighter? But here he is potentially fighting for one. And if he can win it, that sets up a potential Teofimo Lopez unification match that would be for 2 of the 4 major titles at this weight. That can be a very big fight. But this is the precursor to all of that.
Before it becomes about Ryan versus Teofimo, Ryan must first get through O'Hara Davies.
I think he can. Garcia versus Lopez for what would be the WBA and WBO titles would arguably be the most high-profile fight in the men's super lightweight division when you think about it, with more of a profile even than what's supposed to be the Devin Haney versus Regis Prograis fight. That's a solid fight, but so is this one.
With more of a profile.
Golden Boy Promotions and Top Rank would have to work together to bring this fight into fruition, but I think they can since they don't have the strained relationship that Top Rank has with Matchroom.
Bob says he's receptive to that fight.
That would be the end game. And now that Teofimo is coming off a career best win, he's back in the winner's bracket in a big way.
If he stays there,
Can be in a bigger fight, a much bigger fight than any fight he's ever been in, because Ryan Garcia, for all his drawbacks, he is a draw.
like it or not.
So let's see if this master plan pans out.